Hi everyone. Since I can't be at class on April the 5th, I'm going to submit my report by video. And the thesis that I read and reviewed is actually by a friend of mine. Her name is Jeanette MacDonald, and she prepared her thesis for her Ed.D. on the topic of Becoming an Educational Developer, a Canadian University Perspective. And the problem that she addressed is the fact that we know very little about educational developers' career paths, and we don't really know how they enter, how they navigate, how they get PD, and how they advance in their careers. And so she's looking at how they go through the process and how they identify with the field. Her research questions all connect with that, specifically the processes and practices that educational developers undertake to navigate entry, and also what incidents and situational factors affect their attraction into the career. How do they conceive educational development, and at what point in their journey do they think of themselves as educational developers? The theoretical framework that she used the metaphor of a journey, and she looked at career development literature, especially the ideas of serendipity and chance. She also looked at the community of practice as a theoretical model, and how community becomes a living curriculum for the apprenticeship, and she focused on domain, community, and practice as the key elements. In terms of her methodology, she had 3 data sources. She did semi-structured interviews, she looked at their CVs, and she also used field notes that she took to capture observations, insights, and follow-up questions. The participants were selected. It was a purposive sample, and it had a range of ages, background, gender, and geographic location. And she drew it from a master list from professional associations, the Society for Teaching and Learning in Higher Education, the Education Developers Caucus, and also from staff pages for Centres of Teaching Excellence from universities across Canada. She took an original list and distilled it down to 23 candidates, and in the end there were 15 who participated. Her analysis involved transcription of the interviews. They were coded, and then the codes were divided into theme areas, and it was messy, apparently, and she mapped it into a series of journeys as her kind of method for filtering out all of this data, looking at influential people, events, processes, patterns, their entry, their PD, their advancement, various landmarks along their journey. The implications that she came up with were that there needs to be training opportunities that reflect their individual needs as they enter and advance in the field. She wants to situate, recommends that educational development be situated centrally. It's moving away from the margins, but it's important to recognize its emergence as an important unit in the university, and particularly to discuss who sets the agenda. And finally, to explore the idea of credentials. Educational developers are a relatively mysterious career area. They don't have set credentials, and so there's this question of how do they get credibility, and is there a need for credentializing in the field? The primary beneficiaries from the recommendations would be educational developers. Some of the folks who wouldn't be involved are people who work in the field but not at universities, or for those who are not in a formal setting, but rather who are the supporting cast in other contexts, or perhaps partially have this role but are not wanting to be recognized professionally, perhaps faculty or staff who have roles but don't identify as educational developers. And finally, in terms of impact and power relationships, my thought was that championing teaching and learning possibly would create a tension in the university between those who focus on teaching and learning and those who focus on research. So while we try and promote teaching and learning, those who are more traditional in a research-intensive university may not be pleased about using resources in that way. And in terms of a recommendation that I would not consider seriously, I'm not sure about credentialing educational developers. I'm not sure whether that would really add value, because in my experience the most important thing is their credibility based on their experience and their ability to navigate, communicate, work with people in a coaching role, and I actually think that coaching skills are the most important thing and those aren't necessarily something that you get with a piece of paper. I think that that is true to the idea of a community of practice, something that's gained through experience and perhaps apprenticeship and immersion in the community. So those are my thoughts, and that's my video, and hope you're all having a great Friday afternoon. I'm sorry I couldn't be there with you